Hi, I'm washed. For the past few months, I've been struggling to do anything content creation related, and it's caused me to contemplate quitting. Don't get me wrong, I'm not held at gunpoint and forced to do this hobby by a certain marketable plushie that refuses to leave me alone. Being a creator is fun. Sometimes. I don't want to dramatize my situation. I simply couldn't come up with any video ideas that I didn't immediately hate 2 days later. It's like music producers thinking they cooked a fire 2 AM beat and then waking up and realizing it was actually fart music. Now, whether I quit content creation obviously has its advantages and disadvantages. Just like how 99% of gamblers quit before they make it big, I never reached my very attainable goal of overtaking MrBeast as the #1 most subscribed channel on YouTube. And goddamn, do I need that validation. If I do quit though, I will have more free time to lay down and rot in bed. However, despite the sum of my life experiences and my current mindset trying to motivate me to make more videos, I still can't help but feel like I'll never produce something that I'm satisfied with. That I'll keep writing a fifth of a script, call it trash, and scrap the idea. That I'll keep drowning in this ocean of hating my own mind and creations. You know what else is in the ocean though? Jellyfish. Jellyfish can't swim in the night, also known as Yoru no kurage wa oyogenai, is a story about how a group of 4 high school girls come together to form a music group. I say music group because it's not really a band. This is Mahiru Kozuki. As an elementary schooler, she made bangin' art, constructing an entire jellyfish mural. However, her friends didn't show the same love and passion as Mahiru did to the portrait, making fun of it. This caused her to give up the hobby, and she grows up to become the worst type of person imaginable. A normie. Mahiru suppresses her desire to draw and make art, and it all culminates after all these years into a high school existential crisis where she wants to do what she loves again. Fortunately, she meets up with the washed up idol Kano Yamanochi, who dropped out of her former group due to not beating the punched another member in the face allegations. Kano is actually a big fan of Mahiru's art, and the former idol wants the former artist to help her rise to stardom again by forming their own anonymous independent group, Jelly. Mahiru gets cold feet with this idea, and Kano doesn't help her self-esteem either, showing her own disappointment in Mahiru not picking up art again. Mahiru comes up with excuses for not wanting to join Kano's project. She hasn't drawn anything in years. She's a normal high school girl. She's a nobody. And honestly, this scene was heartbreaking for me because it emulates how pathetic and stubborn people with low self-esteem are. I've personally had these thoughts too many times. There's a saying by Henry Ford, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And while inspirational quotes from historical figures don't tend to be life-changing unless you're a ghostwriter for a pop singer, struggling with self-confidence is a problem many of us suffer from. What that Henry Ford quote means is that people don't rise above from what they perceive is their self-worth, and if you don't have that ego, you'll treat yourself like you deserve less in life. Mahiru has an insane opportunity here to produce art for an albeit washed up idol who really respects her work, creating a character that has the potential to be recognized by a massive audience, and it's a dream for many artists to have their drawings meet the eyes of so many people. She declines the offer instead, fearing her skills aren't good enough. She isn't special and can't design anything great anymore, which sounds stupid. Of course Mahiru can produce something amazing. Look at that jellyfish art from her childhood. But when you've been detached from your passion for so long, it gets a little scary to come back, especially when met with a huge proposal like Kano's. Mahiru genuinely believes she isn't worth anything, worried that even if she does take on the burden, she isn't competent enough, and it's painful to watch because on the inside, she doesn't even want it to be this way. There's a part of her that still burns to draw again. It's why Mahiru speaks nervously in this scene and hates herself on the train ride back home. If Mahiru truly believed she had it in her to make great art, she wouldn't have dropped the hobby in the first place. If Mahiru truly believed she wasn't special, she wouldn't have these self-doubt and loathing thoughts for quitting. She's stuck in this worst of both worlds middle ground that's giving her an existential crisis. Mahiru is a conflicted character with just enough skill to produce something magical, but not enough confidence to start the show. So how does Mahiru solve her self-confidence issue? Well, she doesn't solve it herself. On Halloween in Shibuya, Kano and Mahiru happen to meet up again at her mural, where on top of plastering her posters over the jellyfish, a not very talented street performing idol is singing one of Kano's songs. Kano and Mahiru both put respect back on their respective expertises as they hijack the show with Kano singing the song but better and Mahiru tearing down the posters. After that, they run off together into the city lights. The resolution feels like it glossed over such an introspective issue, but it's a first episode and I guess that's how show pacing is. The bigger aspect I want to focus on is Mahiru not just suddenly waking up one day and realizing she's the reincarnation of Leonardo da Vinci, gaining all her self-esteem back. It takes Kano to help her get back on her feet, and that highlights a key component of these types of struggles. They're not something you can brute force out of with facts and logic. It takes experience and doing things that really rewires your brain. Mahiru needed emotional support to mount the barricade that was stopping her from taking up art again, and the street performance with Kano on Halloween solidified that. It was a sign that proved she is special. There's some not so subtle symbolism here, with Kano wearing a devil costume and Mahiru wearing an angel one because she's supposed to be the good girl and suppress her desires, and Kano being the more loud and rambunctious type is like the devil whispering in her ear and telling her not to conform to society. But I think that belongs in a high school English essay, not this video. The other members of the group, Kiwi and Takanashi, both have their own struggles, though they resonated less with me compared to Mahiru's. The title Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night is a reference to how jellyfish can only shine when they absorb light from other sources, like how the group Jelly can only shine when all the members come together. Overall, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night solidifies the importance of having friends that bring out your best qualities and support your passions. Being with the right people can help you cheer up when you're in a bad spot. You know what else cheers you up though? Good food. Like a beef bowl. From Girls Band Cry, Guruse Band Cry, otherwise known as Girls Band Cry, is the anime that actually does CG right for once. Look at these faces, they're so expressive. The movement isn't choppy or stiff or floaty or, God forbid, Overlord. Because it's CG, the animators don't have to grill themselves over drawing a gorillion frames, and that means there's so much more subtle motion in the smaller moments of the anime, like when the characters are having a conversation. I could definitely watch more like the... Are those subtitles correct? Okay, it might just be me, but using some context clues and given the overall vibe of the show, I don't think she says this. After moving to Tokyo to study for her university entrance exams, Nina Isiri happens to meet with her favorite guitarist, Momoka Kawaragi. Momoka used to be part of the popular band Diamond Dust, but fell out due to not liking the direction of playing and composing more conventional songs to appease a mainstream audience. Momoka, about to quit her music career forever, is stopped by Nina. They do a street performance together with Nina singing and Momoka playing the guitar, and Momoka, admiring Nina's voice, suggests they form a band. The group gathers drummer Subaru Awa, bassist Rupa, and keyboardist Tomo Ebizuka. While the first episode established Momoka's and Nina's respect for each other, practically every episode past that, they're fighting and arguing. Momoka has more band experience than Nina and is accustomed to the hectic environment. However, Nina has lots of anxiety and angst within her, doing her everything to promote the band and keep it afloat. Many of these fights happen because Nina thinks Momoka is too indifferent, while Momoka doesn't want Nina to meddle with affairs that don't involve her. All of this culminates too, during a session before a concert, Momoka telling everyone that she's gonna quit the band, her reason being that her compositions won't become pro. Shocked by the sudden announcement, Nina, as an introduction at the concert, gives a speech to the audience of her finding solace in playing music with the band, despite the turmoil in life. On the awkward van ride home, the group makes a stop to air out the frustrations between Nina and Momoka. Momoka chastises Nina for giving such a speech, while Nina calls Momoka out for running away from her passion. Momoka and Subaru crash at Momoka's apartment for the night, and she vents her frustration to Subaru over Nina's reckless behavior. Subaru agrees with Nina's perspective, but is able to put her thoughts into a more reasonable manner. She tells Momoka that the band has been gaining traction on social media. People are looking forward to more music from them, and most importantly, they have talented members. specifically Momoka herself, who came from Diamond Dust. All this time, Momoka thought Nina was disconnected from reality, but she was actually the one stuck in her own head. Realizing this, Momoka contacts Nina, and together they go see a Diamond Dust concert. She explains to Nina that she sees her younger self in her from the Diamond Dust days, making music not for money or popularity, but because she wanted to make pure art. Even though they were praised by critics, the band only did well when they made music that pandered to a mainstream audience, and for that, she quit. Diamond Dust without Momoka was more vulnerable than ever and had to sustain themselves somehow, so the band continued to go down the conventional route to earn sales. It's a tightrope balance situation. How much artistry and artisanship are you willing to sacrifice to appeal to a wider audience? It's soul-crushing to make art that you care about but no one else does, and then make art that you don't think much of but everyone else does. You feel like you're in a prison, confined to restrictive standards, punished for doing what you want and being free. Momoka, more than anyone else in Diamond Dust, wanted the band to succeed from making music that resonated with her, but she had her dreams slowly suffocated by producing cookie-cutter rock music. She wants to quit Nina's band because she knows that Nina is on the path to the same journey as the one from her younger days, reckless and naive. Nina, however, ardently refutes Momoka, saying she's using Nina and her past as an excuse to run away. Nina argues that if Momoka's ultimate goal was to make good music, then she already accomplished that. Nina is proof of that. In her high school days, Nina was being harassed and bullied by some other girls. The principal had the bright solution of having both sides shake hands to signal that they should stop having bad blood and start anew. Teens and kids are much smarter than what adults credit them for, and when you tell a child to make a compromise like this despite them not being in the wrong, you inadvertently teach them to quietly accept injustice. Nina, conscious that she didn't have much power to argue back against the adults, instead of shaking hands, runs out of the office and locks herself in a room, jamming to Diamond Dust's Void. Most people in Nina's situation would shake hands just to get the situation over with, holding a grudge that would probably last a lifetime. But Nina stood up for herself, a characteristic too many of us lack. While her solution was reckless, she valued her pride and self-worth over getting the situation done with, and Momoka's compositions gave her that strength. Nina's naivety in previous episodes where she intervenes in every conflict was a bit grating to watch. She's hot-headed and stubborn, a character that gets in the way of everything and refuses to change. Though these two traits of hers are actually what make her special. In spite of the entire world, Nina will not compromise on her ideals and her art, and that mindset finally won Momoka over. Don't sweat the details, just make good music. In the van drive home, Nina confesses her love to Momoka, who after a few seconds starts crying uncontrollably. This scene was absolutely the best moment I've experienced for 2024. Nina's love for Momoka transcends any romantic, Seigex, or Yuri themes. We already have Yuri band anime for spring 2024, we really don't need another one. Momoka broke into tears, finally realizing that Nina cares for her emotionally and mentally, a type of bond that many people wish they had. Compared to Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night, Girls' Band Cry is a loud, angsty, emotional mess, but because the show is more unconventional and raw, it hits home to someone like me who aspires to create better art. That reminds me, kaiju are also pretty loud. Kaiju Hachigo, also called Kaiju No. 8, features the aspiring 32 years young man by the name of Kafka Hibino. In a world where the Japanese Defense Force battle kaijus that wreak havoc upon the citizens of the country, Kafka is not one of these heroes. While he did promise his childhood friend, who is now the captain of the JDF, that he'd be part of the same squadron as her, those bright days are long gone. Instead, Kafka is part of the cleanup crew, the still very important but messy and gross job of being the janitors to the Japanese Defense Force, taking care of what remains of the kaiju after the epic battle. Though Kafka understands that his work is necessary and essential despite it being disgusting and unsightly, the antithesis of the JDF's job, Something inside him still urges, even after all these years, to pursue his childhood dream. It isn't until a new coworker, Horano Ichikawa, shows up that motivates him to take his goal seriously. Ichikawa is working as part of the cleanup crew because he has the same goal as Kafka, to become part of the Japanese Defense Force against kaijus. The janitorial job will help him learn about kaiju anatomy, so he'll do better on the entrance exam. Being a part-time student, Ichikawa is much younger than Kafka, and it shows in his determination. If there's anything people undermine the most when planning a long-term goal, it's the fluctuations in your motivation. I'm not saying everyone needs to wake up 4 AM grind set every day, however, you need to be conscious of the smaller tasks it takes to get where you want, as well as the progress you've made. Kafka is 32, while Ichikawa is in his early 20s at most. Even though they're both adults, Kafka has experienced more than an entire decade than Ichikawa, and for a lot of people, that is easily enough to slowly wane their drive to achieve their dreams. Kafka's situation is a rare case in anime. Anime targets teens and young adults, with most of their protagonists and settings being of that age and in high school. I'm at an age where the high school angst of anime is slowly growing more distant to me. You know, going through puberty, managing your emotions and friendships, thinking about the future. Well, I still have to deal with that last one. Don't grow up, adulthood is horrible. The fact that most shows cover this age group, though, means that there is a gaping hole in anything past young adulthood, which means certain topics get little to practically no spotlight, like giving up your passion and then the challenge of reigniting that motivation again. The small difference of having to come back makes a huge change in perspective because of the emotional aspect that you were once attached to this part of life. Ichikawa doesn't understand this and is confused why Kafka gave up on his dream in the first place. Even though it is hurtful to disregard the senior worker's feelings, Ichikawa's youthful straightforwardness does have a point. If you want to achieve anything, the only way you're gonna get there is if you work at it. Kafka and Ichikawa bond over Ichikawa's orientation, and at the end of the day, the younger employee tells Kafka that the JDF relaxed the age requirement to 33 years old. 1 year more than Kafka. Nice. After a freaky accident, he gets granted the ability to transform into a very powerful kaiju. He realizes he shouldn't be too open about it due to the Japanese Defense Force's policies on kaiju, specifically the kill first, dissect later rule. Kafka uses this newfound power to save a girl and her mother, who are almost at the brink of death by the hands of another kaiju. He gets a taste of what being a hero feels like, and combining this with the support from Ichikawa, Kafka decides that he's going to try to become a part of the JDF again. On exam day, he's practically the oldest guy out of all the applicants. What's worse for his self-esteem is that not only are the young tryouts in their peak physical forms versus Kafka being at the age where the body starts declining, but also the new recruits are cracked. Kafka finishes nearly in last place in terms of everything, and while I was watching the show, I was waiting for the power trip moment when he busts out his kaiju form and starts showing up everyone, but in a Mob Psycho 100 fashion, he never does that. Kafka knows he isn't the top soldier in terms of fitness and capability, so instead of trying to be flashy and score a bunch of kills, he supports the team by providing knowledge of the kaiju's behavior and weaknesses using the experience from his cleaning job. The JDF takes notice of this, and despite being one of the weakest members of the team physically, Kafka actually manages to achieve his goal of becoming part of the force. Never give up is an often overused phrase to the point where it's almost become its own cliche. Usually, a show has a clear, tense moment where a character is facing some sort of challenge, and they're supposed to steel their resolve and remember their dreams, and with the power of friendship, the world is saved and everyone is happy and there's no more world hunger, and I actually get a decently paying job in this economy. While most anime have themes of perseverance, applying never give up is not really a clear choice, because humans and reality are infinitely more complex than characters in media. However, I think Kaiju number 8 sheds some new light on this saying that we can take away as real people. As a child, Kafka wanted to be part of the JDF. Once he became of the age to apply, he tried the exam every year. Even though he constantly got rejected, Kafka never truly gave up. There was no singular, intense, defining moment of his path to becoming becoming a member of the JDF. Kafka had to carry his ambitions over a long journey, and that mimics today's reality. Most people live mundane, simple lives, but because we're ordinary, we have to play the long game to achieve our dreams. Getting results fast either requires an impossible amount of work or an insane amount of luck. The only thing we can expect to do is slowly work on ourselves, day by day, and surely, not now, but sometime in the future, we'll have accomplished what we've wanted. Hi, I'm washed, but I'm not quitting just yet. Thanks for your attention span.